Hello, and I'm Harriet Morris, and I am absolutely delighted and honoured to be interviewing Catherine Rains. Hello, Catherine. Lovely to meet you.
Harriet, it is incredibly wonderful to meet you after communicating with you. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Well, we are going to talk about a lot of things in this interview, and you are an artist, and so people might say, well, Harriet, you're not an artist, none of your podcasts are about art, why are you interviewing Catherine? Well, I think it will become abundantly clear during this interview, and I wanted to speak to you, Catherine, because I was so impressed in interviews I've heard that you've given, because what I see so often is that people get stuck in victim thinking, and it makes them stressed and it makes them miserable. And what I think you've done is something amazing. And there's this two-pronged approach you've got to life, which is about, you've got a very interesting way of accepting negative events, which isn't resignation. But then you also practice detachment with your intentions. And we're in for a treat. The audience, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening, such a treat, because it's going to give a lot of people a lot of inspiration for dealing with those real, live, down-to-earth problems that can happen to any of us. One thing I heard you say is this phrase, "This moment is my destiny." So I'd really like you to talk about how that came about and how it helped you change careers.
Well, the way it started was I was in a successful career on the outside, but I was miserable inside. So I hated this job that I had set my entire life up to get. And at the point that this mantra came about, I had been in this particular job for 6.5 years. I was miserable the whole time. No one knew it because I was good. I was good at what I did, but I didn't like what I was doing at all. And so after 6.5 years of bitching, to everybody, well, I should say everybody in my inner sphere, no one in the outside, in the real world, outside world knew about it. But after complaining for a really long time, I looked out the window one day at my job, and all of a sudden it felt like someone hit me with a 2x4. And a phrase came into my head that said, "What you resist persists." Now, I'm a spiritual person. I've heard that phrase a million times. Like, okay, so what? But for some reason, this time I realized that's what I'd been doing. So in this job that I hated, I had been resisting it. So as long as you resist something, it's going to last forever. That's what came to me. And so I said, okay, so what am I going to do about it? How can I stop resisting something? Because Harry, it was logical to resist it. Anyone would have resisted this. I was getting yelled at all the time. There was a lot of expectations that I thought were unrealistic. I mean, it was a really stressful job. So, but what you resist persists. So in about 2 hours after that little thing came into my head, I realized that I had to settle into this job completely, not look for another one. I mean, certainly I had to stop complaining about it 100%, but how are you going to do that when when you really don't like where you are? So within about a 2-hour period, I realized that I had to fully see every single moment, even the bad ones, as where I was meant to be. And so I'm pretty sure I got the phrase. I mean, the phrase is not mine. I think it's from Eckhart Tolle. I'm pretty sure he said something very similar to this. This moment this moment is my destiny. So I made this decision that every single time I felt this tenseness in my body, which was often like, damn it, I don't want to be here. Like, get out of my office. Like, what are you doing? I was always bitching inside my head. As soon as I felt that little tense, I go, no. And I was like a child. It was like me disciplining a child having a tantrum. That's what it felt like. It's like, no, we're not doing it anymore. And so I would say the phrase, "This moment's my destiny." And I would settle into whatever it was that was before me. Like if I had my most biggest memory was this woman came into my office, one of my staff people, and she wanted to sit down for an hour and bitch at me, about all the things she was upset about. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't have time for this crap. Like, go up. And as soon as I started, I went, this moment's my destiny. So I stopped all the thoughts. The thoughts I forced them out. And in that moment, I just settled into her. I just listened to her. And it was the most, it was actually a lovely conversation once I stopped the inner turmoil and really the inner dialogue that kept saying, get me out of here. And I did this continuously for 3 months. And it wasn't easy because there was a whole bunch of opportunities where I wanted to say, no, but it's logical to hate this. Who is going to like this? But after 3 months, suddenly out of nowhere, someone called me up and offered me the job of my dreams.
Can I just stop you there? So within this 3 months, did you have was it like a mix? So did you have sometimes when you were, I really, really want to complain, I want to resist this, but then other times when it felt quite liberating? Was it kind of a mishmash, or did you just gradually start to feel better?
It was continually a mishmash.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to resist it all the time. That was my life pattern. I mean, why wouldn't you resist it? It's logical to resist someone yelling at you or complaining or taking up your time or asking you to do something stupid or going to a meeting that's completely worthless. There's a million reasons. But what I had to do, literally, I treated myself as if I was having a tantrum, like a child having a tantrum. So every time I heard myself saying that, I would, as soon as I could catch it. I mean, and I had to catch it. It wasn't like it was an automatic thing ever. I'd hear my little, no, stop. Yes. And then I would do this moment's my destiny.
It sounds a little bit like meditation. Meditation's not about having no thoughts. It's about catching them and continually like batting the ball back. So that is amazing. And I think everybody wants to fall into that poor old me victim story. So we all have a lot to learn from that. So you were about to talk about your job, and I would like you to tell a story though, because I love this one. The "it's my job" affirmation every time the phone rang, because this is awesome. And everybody can put this into action the minute that they stop listening to this interview. So tell us about that, Catherine.
Well, it was actually, I combined "this moment's my destiny" with "it's my job." So it was a combined affirmation. So the "it's my job" part came about because I had so here I'm misery, right? I'm in misery. And I'd already decided I was going to do "this moment's my destiny." So I'd already put that in place. And then a friend called me up who was doing a similar job to me in another place and said, I just got a call and they offered me a job out of the blue. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hell, I'm just as connected as you are. Yeah. Why wouldn't someone call me and offer me a job? And I had no idea what I wanted. I mean, where am I going to go? By the way, at this moment, I'm a career counselor, which is the most ironic thing. So my profession is career counseling. And I knew that I couldn't just get another career counseling job. I was managing career counselors. So I knew I couldn't just get a bigger one. And this woman was actually offered something that was totally different. It sounded really good. So I decided that every time the phone rang, I would say to myself, this is my job. But it was like a game I played. Yeah. So the phone would ring and I go, this is my job. And I would pick it up and I go, oh, it wasn't my job. But I would just drop that as soon as I had that almost like kind of like, what's the word? Like disappointment that this call wasn't my job. But then the next time it would, I'd get 30 phone calls a day. I mean, there was a lot. So I said it all day long. At the same time, I was doing "this moment's my destiny." So it was kind of like this double-pronged non-resistance. I really think that's why it worked to get me this new job, because at the same time that I was affirming a job was coming to me through "this is my job" on the telephone, I was completely opening my arms to the job I had. Like there was no resistance whatsoever. Now the resistance was coming up, but I wasn't allowing it to have airtime.
That is quite a trick. And I don't know if you've ever heard this concept of cognitive dissonance, which basically states we can't hold two opposing concepts in our brain, and we will go like a smoker who might say, okay, I need smoking for my stress, but I'm worried that smoking will kill me. Those two concepts can't live in the head. So the smoker will go one way or the other. It sounds like there's quite a trick to that, but I wonder if it's maybe just keeping having a go and I'm trying to think of some examples for myself. And when, I can't think of any offhand, but when I've done it, it's been a case of, okay, even if you do it badly, keep trying, and then things seem to change. So was it a case of just keep having a go, even though this doesn't seem to make sense? Or?
Well, to be honest, Harriet, I wasn't trying to affirm a new job. I mean, it sounds like I was.
Right.
But it was unintentionally intentional. So yeah, I wanted a new job. I really did want out of where I was, but I also knew that I didn't have a path. I didn't have any idea of where I was going to go. I live in a rather small town in the south of southern USA. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity where I was. So where was I going to go? So it was kind of like, why not? Just try it. And the cognitive dissonance, I think, is a really big thing, because for me, at least, because so many people try affirmations. Affirmations is such a huge thing, but at the same time they're affirming, they're complaining about where they are. And that's why it doesn't work. So when people don't get what they want from affirmations, it's because they're resisting what's happening. And basically you're telling the universe, God, whatever, you're basically putting yourself in a hole. Like, I want it, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it. And then that's cognitive dissonance, so you're actually getting stuck in one place. So I think the key is you have to do both. You have to accept where you are, even if it looks like crap. And you say, something great is coming to me. And for me, not necessarily naming what's going to happen, it's just going to happen. Like, I want a job. My highest good job's coming to me. Yeah. And this has been true my entire life, not just with jobs. This is how it's worked.
Yeah. So now I want to go on and ask you, outside career, I know that you've used this double barrel skill set of the acceptance and the detachment with your intentions, with health and relationship challenges. So I would love to hear about those.
The next big one was I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it came out of the blue. I didn't have any, I don't have any family history of cancer at all. And I was really healthy when I was diagnosed. So it was a big shock. And initially, I went into who wouldn't go into a little bit of mourning, like all of a sudden, you don't know if you're going to die. I'm going to lose a breast and I don't know. And so, I gave myself a small amount of freak out, because I think that's pretty normal as a human. But then pretty quickly, I realized that if I resist this, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get worse. So, and this was also by Eckhart Tolle. One of the things Eckhart Tolle says is everything okay now? Like, if you scan your body, are you okay right now? Mm. Okay. So I kept doing that. I'm fine right now. Like, I'm completely healthy. I'm completely whole. We're good. So I did that continuously. I kept saying, what is now? Like, what? And basically it's the same thing as this moment's my destiny. I just changed. It was just a different mantra. It's like, what is now? What is now? I'm fine. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm good. Even after I had breast surgery, and I did have a mastectomy, and it was, there were lots of pockets of time where I was either in pain or fear, but I would allow myself the sadness. I'd go into it. I didn't deny that, like, this is hard. But if I don't put a lot of words to it, like if I don't go, oh my God, this is awful, what am I going to do? If I just feel the feelings, which is like right in my chest, oh my God, it feels horrible. If I stay with the feelings, they lift fairly quickly for me.
Wow.
And then I can go into, okay, what's true now? What's true now is I'm reading a book. Wow. And by the way, this is not mamby-pamby positivity crap. This is what is actually true right now. I'm reading a great book. Because of cancer, and I don't actually say it this way, but because of cancer, I was given some free time. Yeah. I had some time to actually go into my life, and there were, it's just like with the job search, there were pockets where I'm like, holy crap, I don't know if I'm gonna have chemo. It's scary. But then I go, am I having chemo now? Is there actually chemo going through my body? No, right now I'm actually good. I'm taking a walk. So wow. What I kept doing was letting go of these thoughts that wanted to terrorize me. They'd come up all the time, but I have to go, no, it's literally disciplining the child in your head that wants, and maybe the way you would say is the victim part, that just wants to have airtime, but it doesn't really help me. It doesn't really, doesn't support me.
It's like taking being present to, its highest form, which is there's all this hideous facts out there, but what is happening for me right now in this moment? That's incredible. I've never heard anybody talk about being present in a way, in such a powerful way.
Well, thank you. It's interesting because then my whole life has been this path of having to accept where I am. And about 3 years after breast cancer, my marriage started to unravel. I had been with my ex-husband now for 31 years. This was my life. And I was in love with him, pretty much the entire time. This was a lifetime deal. I had no intention of anything else, but he was going through a whole inner crisis himself. And for 6 months, this is the last year of my marriage, but for 6 months, he just gave me hell and I gave him hell back. So he gives me hell. I'm right in his face and I'm yelling right back, because why wouldn't you? If someone's yelling at you or, complaining about the most ridiculous, insane things that you're not doing for him, why wouldn't you yell back? So I did. For 6 months, I fought. And then at the 6-month mark, the same thing that happened with my job. I got hit by a 2x4 and I went, what are you doing? You're resisting. Now, if I had been battered, it would have been a different thing. I was not being physically hurt. I was being emotionally battered. So I had some power. So at that moment, I went, oh my God, I'm resisting this man. So I had the same thing that happened. I realized when he comes to me and tells me another thing that I'm doing wrong, this is what I did. I would go, honey, I know you're upset and I can see this is bothering you, but I'm not going there with you. This is just, I can't do this. And he would, he would fight back and I go, I'm sorry, gotta go. And I'd walk in the next room, I'd get in the car, I would do something to remove myself so that I didn't have to engage. And my mantra then was, I'm going to be happy no matter what. You are not going to affect my happiness because this is all I got. And so then I would go read a book. I would go to the movies by myself. I would take a walk. And I would just, whenever the thoughts of this, grumbling ex-husband would come into my head, I go, no, out, because happiness is my goal. And I did that for 6 months, solid. And he was coming at me with everything he had. By the way, he took him 24 hours. So I would leave him alone after he was yelling at me.
Yeah.
Without fighting back. I was not fighting. And 24 hours later, he would always come back and go, okay, now let's work this out. We really didn't work anything out, but I was not engaging in his negativity. And so I wasn't being affected by it. So 6 months of doing this solid, I was perfectly whole. In fact, I had fallen back in love with him. I was like, we're good to go. But he wasn't. And after this, so this was 1 full year of this. At the end of the year, he asked for a divorce. Turns out he had been having an affair for the entire year, which is why he was behaving the way he was. He was trying to find justification for himself. But what happened for me was, it was the same thing as the job. By not resisting this insanity that was coming at me, I was actually put in the most perfect place because he needed to go. There is this point. I would never, ever have chosen that. I believe in marriage. Marriage is like a religion for me. And so I wouldn't have gotten out of it. I would have made it work. And I was making it work for 31 years. But by not resisting, he got to choose to leave. Yeah. He left. And then I got the most beautiful gift ever. I mean, I got to open up like a flower, and I got to be single. I got to date, I got a whole new life. And now I'm remarried to an amazing man. So
fantastic. So something that's occurred to me is I'm thinking of you sitting in the office and it's my job, there's the phone ringing and then the co-workers coming in and bitching, and I'm thinking, actually, well, that was really great training for these bigger challenges later on. So I'm sitting here thinking nobody knows what's going to happen to them in life. So when you're being like, really, we've all gone home from work going, oh, I really hate that person, but it's like, wait a minute, you have this amazing training ground for what might happen later. And it strikes me that there's a good way to see these small niggles as being training for the bigger curveballs.
Yeah, well, we always hope that there's not bigger curveballs. We always hope this one's more the big one. But for me, each one is built on the next one. It's like the universe is saying, okay, you got that one good. Let's see if you can do this one. You know, like my life theme is non-resistance. But the funny thing is that I have learned that I'm really good when it comes to the big ones. Like you hate your job, you get cancer, you have a husband that cheats on you. I'm good with those. I mean, by the way, if they are all hard, they were painful. I went through grieving, but by not resisting where I was, things transformed like miracles. But what's harder is the everyday, you know? So like, I'm not in crisis now at all. I live an amazing life. I'm an artist. I live a life I've always dreamed, but it's harder to apply it in everyday life. You know, because I'm not up against a wall. You know, when you're up against a wall, you have no other choices. You can either be miserable and just like bitch like crazy for the rest of your life, or you can like stand up and figure it out. But every day, chronic like stress, I'm not as good. And so that's what I'm trying to do now. Actually, I am applying those principles to everyday. How do you just deal with life in non-resistance? And I am doing it. It's ironically easier in crisis.
Yes, that's quite a thought. So next question. And we're really taking a lot of these big challenges that a lot of people go through, and they hold on to them as wounds, and they're walking around with them, and they're like you say, whatever resists persists. So I just want anybody who's listening here to just be inspired by these stories. So your childhood was a difficult childhood, and I wonder if you can talk about it a little bit.